If you bought an 8K TV in the last few years or even considered it, the category you were shopping in is now being abandoned. Not by one brand, not by two, by nearly every major TV manufacturer in the world. And the one company still technically selling them has stopped promoting them altogether. This is not a story about pixels. This is about what happens when the TV industry sells people on the future, charges them tens of thousands of dollars to be early adopters, and then walks away from the product, leaving those buyers with hardware that will never get the content, the ecosystem, or the support it was promised. And even if you never thought about buying an 8K set, this matters because it shows how TV brands make decisions. The priority is not always what is best for the buyer. Sometimes the priority is what sounds impressive on a spec sheet in January and what gets killed off by December. LG launched its first 8K OLED TV in 2019, the 88-inch Z9, at a retail price of roughly $35,000. It was positioned as the peak of home display technology. The pitch was simple: more pixels, better picture. And if you wanted the absolute best, 8K was where everything was heading. Samsung, TCL, and Hisense followed. That same year, the 8K Association was founded by Samsung, TCL, Hisense, and panel maker AU Optronics. By 2021, LG had expanded its 8K LCD lineup with more models at more price points, and the OLED Z series had gone through several generations: Z9, ZX, Z1, Z2, Z3, each one refining the formula, each one still priced well into five figures. But at no point during this entire stretch did the content show up. No 8K streaming tier from Netflix, Amazon, Disney, or anyone else. No 8K Blu-ray format. No 8K broadcast standard adopted in the United States. The TVs existed. The content to justify them did not. And while the industry kept manufacturing and marketing these panels, the gap between what buyers were paying for and what they could actually watch on these screens never closed. By 2022, things started to shift. LG scaled back its 8K LCD lineup. Sales of 8K TVs peaked that year and then began declining. The 8K Association, which had 33 member companies at the end of 2022, started losing members. That number has since dropped to 16. Of those 16, only 2 are TV manufacturers. No major panel suppliers still participate. In 2023, NAR TCL left the 8K market entirely, citing non-existent demand. That same year, LG's Z3 became the last 8K OLED model the company would ever manufacture. The LCD lineup was skipped completely. No new models, no refreshes. In 2025, Sony pulled out. Its last 8K models were discontinued, and the company showed no intention of returning, especially as it prepared to hand off majority ownership of its Bravia TV division to TCL. Hisense suspended its 8K efforts with no plans to resume. Panasonic never made it past prototypes. Then, in early 2026, LG made it official. LG Display confirmed to industry publication Flat Panels HD that its 8K OLED panel development program has been suspended. The company stated, "As our technical readiness is already complete, our LG Display is fully prepared to respond immediately whenever the market and customers determine that the timing is right." The Z3 OLED, which had carried over through 2024 and 2025, was officially discontinued in late 2025, with no Z4 successor planned. On the LCD side, the QNED 99T, LG's last 8K LCD, is now out of stock and discontinued at major retailers. No replacements have been announced. LG does not even list 8K TVs on its website anymore. That leaves Samsung, one company, one model, the QN990H, confirmed only in a 98-inch size. Samsung, which once offered a full range of 8K TVs at different price points, did not give this model any real attention at CES 2026. It was barely mentioned. Since 2015, only 1.6 million 8K TVs have been sold worldwide. For perspective, nearly 1 billion 4K TVS were in active use as of September 2024. Woody, according to research firm Omdia, the 8K installed base is so small that no content provider has any financial incentive to produce native 8K programming. And now that the manufacturers themselves are walking away, the chances of that changing are close to zero. If you spent $13,000, $20,000, or $35,000 on one of these sets, you bought a TV that will spend its entire lifespan upscaling 4K content. The native resolution you paid a premium for will almost certainly never be used for the purpose it was marketed for, and as the years pass, replacement parts, firmware updates, and service availability for these discontinued models will only shrink. But this goes beyond the people who already own 8K sets. And the deeper issue is what it reveals about how the TV industry operates and what it says about the value of chasing specifications. The failure of 8K comes down to three things stacked on top of each other. First, human vision has hard limits. Research from the University of Cambridge conducted with Meta and published in Nature found that on a 50-inch screen, you can only perceive the benefits of 8K if you are sitting 1 meter or closer. That is about 3.5 feet. Even on an 80 to 100-inch display, you would need to be within 6 to 10 feet. Most people sit farther back than that. The resolution advantage was, for most real-world viewing, invisible. Second, production costs for 8K panels run roughly double those of 4K equivalents. That cost is passed directly to the consumer, enough for a visual benefit that most people cannot physically perceive from their couch. Third, and most critically, the content never came. Streaming services still cap out at 4K. Blu-ray still caps out at 4K. Broadcast standards in the United States have not fully adopted 4K, let alone 8K. Even many of the 8K TVS that were sold could not accept a compressed 8K signal over HDMI 2.1. The hardware was ahead of the infrastructure by a margin that never closed. This pattern has played out before. Multiple outlets and even LG itself have compared the collapse of 8K to the death of 3D TV, which followed a strikingly similar arc. Manufacturers pushed it hard. Content never materialized at scale. Consumer interest peaked and faded, and within about 7 to 8 years of the mainstream push, production stopped entirely. And there is also a detail that adds an uncomfortable layer to this. During the years when both LG and Samsung were selling 8K TVs, LG publicly questioned whether Samsung's 8K sets were truly resolving 8K detail, positioning its own panels as real 8K. Samsung pushed back. There was an industry-level dispute over what even counted as real 8K. Two companies were arguing over who had the better version of a product that almost no one could see the benefit of, for content that did not exist, at prices that almost no one could afford. One of those companies has now stopped making them entirely. The other has reduced its lineup to a single model it barely talks about. What the industry is focused on now tells its own story. LG is not investing in more pixels. It is investing in better ones. Its 2026 G6 OLED is up to 20% brighter than the G5, uses second-generation tandem OLED panels, and has new anti-reflective coatings and improved color verification. The company has moved its development priority from resolution to brightness, contrast, and color at 4K. Samsung has done the same, pushing Micro R, GBLED, QDOLED, and advanced backlighting. Hisense and TCL are competing on RGB Mini LED. Every major manufacturer has independently reached the same conclusion. The future of TV picture quality is not about adding more pixels. It is about making each pixel better. And that is probably the right call. But it does not undo the fact that for several years, these same companies told buyers the opposite. They marketed 8K as the next essential upgrade. They priced it at a premium. Once they launched association groups and certification programs, they ran campaigns. And then, one by one, they walked away. If there is a takeaway for anyone shopping for a TV today, it is this. The TV industry will always have a next big thing. Right now, it is RGB Mini LED and brighter OLEDs. Before that, it was 8K. Before that, it was 3D. Some of those technologies deliver real, visible improvements. Some do not. The difference between a smart purchase and an expensive regret often comes down to whether the content and infrastructure actually exist to support what the TV is promising. For 8K, the answer was no in 2019. It was no in 2022. It is no in 2026. And now with LG out, Sony out, TCL out, Hisense paused, and Samsung barely participating, it may be no permanently. The category is not just declining. For all practical purposes, sorted, it is finished. And the 1.6 million people who bought in are left with televisions that do exactly what a good 4K set does, at a price that was 5 to 10 times higher. That is the cost of buying the future before the future actually arrives.